He's only 5.
This is 161st Street, Yankee Stadium.
Swung on a hit in the air, the deep center, gets back, away back, she is gone. He made the catch! He made the play!
This is 161st Street, Yankee Stadium.
Swung on a hit in the air. He made the play!
That Chandler emoji looks an awful lot like Courtney.
This is 161st Street, Yankee Stadium.
Swung on a hit in the air, the deep center, gets back, away back, she is gone. He made the catch! He made the play!
All right, welcome back to the Boys of 161st Street, episode 114. Got the Rays series recap. Yankees dropped the series 2-1 to the Rays. We also got a little bit of the last game that just ended tonight against with first game against the Blue Jays. Got the rest of that series to preview, and we talk a lot about the Yankees, a lot about the team that we like. They don't seem to like themselves right now. Not very happy about that, but talk about that. How are we, boys? Today you got Luke, Chandler, Murph, and Bing. How are we?
You said
Luke, Chandler,
and
Murph,
Bing.
and Bing.
I'm here too. Damon's here.
Damon's
by the way. Yeah, no big deal.
How are we? Either way. You know I meant you. So Damon Romeo is here with us too, everybody.
I don't know. People get confused. Thanks. It is a big deal.
It's a little bit of a big deal. So how are we?
I'm happy we won. I'm happy we are pulling wins out of our ass, but we got a lot to figure out. We got a lot to talk about here.
Doesn't feel like a win.
That's exactly what it is, Damon. We pulled it out of our ass, both against the Rays and tonight as well. Didn't feel earned. Didn't feel earned.
The Rays one especially. Jesus Christ. That was not... Whatever. We'll get into that later. But I'm okay to answer your original question.
Yeah, well. It just doesn't seem like... I feel like I have the same vibe as the Yankees do. It just doesn't seem like anybody wants to be there. It seems that nobody wants to... We need a spark. We very much need a spark. We ended up getting we're on a 2-game win streak, and it doesn't feel like it. I mean, 2 games is 2 games, whatever, but, you know, we aren't losing, and it feels like we're losing. You know what I mean? Because
all things equal, if you do those same exact 2 games over and play them the exact same way, we lose both of them. I think. If you play both of those games the exact same way, I think we lose 7 out of 10.
The only reason we won tonight is because we had Cole starting, and then our bullpen has just done what they've been doing all year and just,
And Kyle Higashioka.
saved the day, essentially. So,
I mean,
yeah.
you said it. Garrett Cole, let's talk about him for a second, because he tied that record that David Cohn set for most strikeouts in the first 3 starts of any Yankee pitcher ever. And then they pulled him, obviously. He was at about 90-something pitches. So I would have done that. I would have pulled him too. No need to push him.
Especially how the bullpen's going.
Yeah, no need to push him there, but kind of wild how well... I know the entire kind of starting pitching until the last couple of games has been, nails. Bullpen's still awesome. But Garrett Cole is just being Garrett Cole, and it's amazing to have that guy in our team. I know that's an obvious statement, but he's very much performing the way I expect him to be. We would be feeling a lot worse if the offense was playing like shit like it is and Garrett Cole wasn't pitching like Garrett Cole, because if he wasn't pitching the way he is, we're in a world of hurt, because he's the stopper, because not necessarily all the time. I mean, look at Kluber. Kluber had an off start. Another guy coming up next, Domingo, has an off start, and everybody else kind of, fits in the mix in between, but you can always count on Garrett Cole to be that stopper, and if he's not being the stopper, we're in a world of hurt. So that's nice to at least have that. But yeah, tying the record for David Cone is pretty fucking awesome to see out of him. And that's after first. That's one of those weird, records. Like, first 3 games. Now we're gonna hear the next 4 games and 5 games, and obviously he's on pace. He's clearly on pace because he tied Cone. So maybe he beats Cone next game or whatever. I don't know what Cone did that particular year, but it's going to be a storyline.
That's some intern in the back, just like crunching the numbers, trying to find something to put up on the screen. But I think Cole's kind of the only guy that's living up to his exact expectations. Like, he's pitching exactly as well as we were hoping him to and kind of expecting him to. And then everybody else is either playing worse than we were expecting or way better than we were expecting. The only people playing way better than we were expecting it's the whole bullpen, and then Gary, and I guess you could say Higgy too now after he's gotten his other full day. But everybody else isn't really on par with their expectations, whether they're exceeding them or in a lot of cases falling short.
Yeah. So you mentioned one thing I wanted to talk about Higgy, because that leads into the whole conversation about, that's actually a big conversation. I wanted to open that can of worms now, if you guys are cool with that, because Higgy obviously had a great night tonight. He hits home runs in bunches all the time. It's wild that he always has multi-homer games whenever he has them. But Gary is hitting unbelievable. What was his slash line? 296.
296, 406, 556.
That's unbelievable. And now Higgy comes out and he does this. So I just said this to you guys before we hopped on the air. It's just funny to see if we had one position where we'd be most, and we were doing the roll call episodes before the season started, and we were previewing each position too, and the one we were most concerned about was the catcher position on the Yankees, and now it's the only position that has any production, and not just any production, a very high level of production coming out of the catcher position, them two combined or Gary alone. And that's just something funny that I wanted to point out. But the conversation I wanted to have now is because obviously there's going to be the storyline, the really annoying storyline that is clearly still happening. It's the personal catcher thing. Garrett Cole shoves again with Higgy. He also shoves with, Sanchez behind the dish too. So I hate this conversation of the personal catcher. It's clearly here to stay. What are your guys' take on the state of the personal catcher situation?
Well, I don't have a problem with it, and I'll tell you why. And that's mainly just because of Gary's injury history. If it's going to be a scheduled off day for him anyway, because he's going to have a built-in off days, if he's going to have one once a week, why not give it to Cole? If that's who he's comfortable with. I mean, I feel confident with him either way, but you got to give him days off where he's going to pull both hamstrings running to first, since apparently he puts balls in play now and runs hard. So, we're going to have to give him off days. It hurts nothing when you have Higgy. Obviously, he's not going to go hit 2 home runs a night and, have an OPS of 2,200 for a whole season. But, I mean, either way, I feel confident with either of them in the game right now, and that's a good problem to have. And, like I said, I don't have a problem with it as long as they're both producing. And, obviously Gary's going to need rest. So keep it going. Yeah. If it works, it works.
I just wish that they made a decision about it, because I feel like they, once again, they have this conversation with us, and we always ask, is Higgy the personal catcher? Is he going to be catching every day for Garrett Cole? And then Boone always comes back and he says, well, if his off days align with those days he's pitching, then yes. But in reality, why can't he just say he's going to be the personal catcher because he's performing better when Higgy's behind the dish? Great, cool. That sounds good. You justify it, go ahead. Like, I just don't get the beating around the bush all the time.
I mean, that's who Boone is.
I know, but it's so it's frustrating. But like you mentioned before, production out of the catcher position has been great so far. Gary Sanchez, we were looking up stats, or Gary Sanchez, he's third in batting average and third in on base percentage out of all catchers this year, which is fantastic. Another
big thing on Gary too is that his strikeout to walk ratio is 5-6, so it's basically 1-1, and that's unbelievable for him because in the last year plus combined, his strikeout to walk ratio was like 50 walks to 100 and something strikeouts. So that's something, obviously that's very early, but Gary's playing well, and that's why to piggyback off what you were saying, I don't really like the personal catcher. I never have liked it, and especially when Gary's playing well. It was an easier conversation when Gary wasn't playing well. Now that he's playing well and he's the hottest hitter and the most valuable hitter at the moment in this lineup, now this is where the personal catcher gets annoying, because if he's actually the best, most impact bat we have on this team, and that's not a very big thing to say because nobody hits the ball right now, aside from a few people, this is where I get annoyed with this. We talked about this personal catcher thing. This isn't the first time it's been happening, and when we had the previous conversations about personal catcher, it was kind of a no-brainer. Okay, he's pitching really well with the stats. The stats are alarming with the splits between Gary behind the dish and Higgy behind the dish, and Gary's not playing so well. So it's an opportunity to give him some pine, and that's whatever. Now it's not so much that way. And now you're taking the bat out of the lineup. Obviously, it's not that big a deal right now. Like you said, Gary needs a little bit of rest, but come playoff time, this needs to be figured out. And that's more why I'm addressing it again, because this is not the first time, and I hope it would be the last time, but it's not going to be.
So yeah, I think the playoff thing's interesting because come playoff time, obviously nobody's taking off days in the playoffs. So I think that's a different conversation. But as far as where we're at now, if we need to give Gary said off days, it's pretty advantageous to take advantage of having Cole on the mound when you're taking who's theoretically a lesser bat and Higashioka and putting him in the lineup. Where when Cole's on the mound, and especially if the bullpen's fresh, you know that you're probably not going to be giving up a ton of runs that day, so you don't need the offensive production to compensate. So in that sense, whether or not he's a personal catcher, if you're taking Gary's bat out of the lineup, I'd rather see it on a day where Cole's pitching, where we might not need his offensive spark as much as a day when Montgomery's pitching or Kluber's pitching or whoever else. So I agree. I in general don't like the personal catcher thing, but if Cole's more comfortable throwing to Higgy, and also that's when you can afford to take Gary out of the lineup, then I'm pretty okay with it. If it's every other Cole start, that'd be even better. If that's how he works in, whatever works out. But still, I don't hate it as much as I thought I would.
Like you said, as long as I'm cool with that too, as long as it's a resting him type thing, and it's not
Right.
these are the splits, we're playing this analytics card. That I'm not okay with. I am okay with the giving him rest because and also the catcher position requires a lot more durability, which he doesn't have, and it takes a bigger toll is what I meant to say. So that's why I'm okay with that route. I don't think that's the route they're taking though.
Yeah.
Or the
I
reason.
don't get why.
I have a question. Sorry. How would you guys feel about if Stanton keeps struggling the way he does, say having Higgy catch for Cole, but then also putting Gary in the DH spot and giving
That's what I
Stanton
was
his
gonna
off day?
say
Because they've taken him out sometimes too. So,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't get why they didn't do that tonight. Stanton was already talking about not playing, that he wasn't really feeling it today because of everything going on, like the same reason Hicks, whatever. So he was already talking about not fully being there mentally. Why do you not let your hottest hitter DH then? Give Stanton the day off that he wants, and that way you get the bat in the lineup of Gary, you get the defense and the personal catcher of Higgy. Boom, everything solved. I don't get that move personally. If the guy's not all there between the ears and he's already struggling, why not put Gary in a DH tonight? Which at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They won fucking somehow, but I don't know. Just something that kind of came up in my head today.
I don't like that.
Yeah, you just can't really. That's
Very short-sighted.
That's hard to justify.
It's very short-sighted. Giancarlo Stanton is one of the best players in this team. As
I'm
much as a lot of people may hate.
today. I'm talking about for today in general. Like,
Okay.
Not forever. I'm just saying today when all the stars aligned seemingly for him to DH today. Why not?
and those stars might align more often than we think throughout the year.
Exactly. On this team, you never know.
So Stan's not the every single day DH. He's already gotten, I think, at least 1, maybe 2 days off this year from the DH spot. So on the days that he's DHing, why not have Higgy catch, especially if Cole's pitching, and have Gary DH?
I just don't like that this is the route we're taking with this team. We're kind of, buying into the fact that this is the way it's going to be handled. I'm still not on the same board as why should Stanton be getting an off day there? That's why they've brainwashed us in a sense that this is how it's going to be, which it may be how it's going to be. And I get it. Now we should talk about how we're going to go do it going forward and not just complain about what's actually happening. But it's just annoying to me that is kind of how we have to assess the situation, is that Giancarlo Stanton, who is made of glass and needs to get an off day from the DH spot, every 3 games. But if that is the case, then yeah, maybe he does need an off day. And in that off day, if it ends up lining up on a Cole start, then Higgy catches and Gary DHs. And I'm fine with that too.
Is it just me, or does your guys' heart sink every time that Giancarlo Stanton hits a ground ball? Every time I watch him try and sprint to first, I get so nervous that he's going to pull up at the end.
Happens with Judge too.
Yep. When he scored from second or first, whatever it was, against the Rays the other day, I was
Yeah.
Yeah, I even said that too.
50% chance he was coming up hurt after that.
Yeah, I even said that too. I said, has anybody checked on Judge recently? Because he ran pretty hard there. And it's not even like with other players, you would think, oh,
like
he got hit by a pitch or he came up funny on that ball. It's like, no, he just ran and somebody should check on him. That's where I'm at. I literally said that today when we were watching the game. And he was booking it. So clearly he's fine, right? He didn't do that grimace thing where he usually does when he, gets a single on first.
He did today.
He did a little bit.
He does that all the time though, and maybe that's because he is always, feeling not great. And I truly believe that he doesn't know what it's like to feel 100% healthy. Like I agree with that. When he plays and he's in the lineup, he's technically healthy. But even Boone, we haven't even talked about this yet. When Boone said, "I don't know how to answer Marley Rivera's question. Is he injured?" It's a good question. I don't know how to answer that. Well, it's a pretty black and white.
That's such like a layup, a yes or no question.
And I don't know if it was about the COVID shot, which, I mean, the Gio thing, he just got it, he was out, and it was a bigger deal when Judge is out. So if that's the case, whatever. Yeah, but the reason why it's a story is because of all of the other things around it. So it's not...
They also said it was general soreness on his left side. Like, it wasn't like he was sick.
Yeah. We're not going to talk more about that, but I'm just saying, I really don't think he knows what it's like to be healthy. I don't know. I think he's just less hurt one day, and that's when you're in the lineup. I feel better today than I did yesterday, and that's a good sign. I don't know if he's ever felt healthy.
If you're sore, you're done for 2 days instantly. Because if you're sore, that means something's ripping soon, and we're gonna shut that shit down quick.
All right, let's stop talking about the injury stuff. It's just sad.
Down for a few days, actually worked, because this is the first time ever that somebody's been mysteriously out of the lineup, and then actually come back in the lineup within a few days rather than having an IL stint. So hopefully he was a little sore, and sitting him out those 2 or 3 days actually helped. And he actually was playing. Because last time we recorded for our episode that released on Thursday, we were saying that he wouldn't even be in the lineup a week from, in a few days from now. So, a week from now.
And I put that poll up, too, and everybody was like, hell no. It was hell no, will he be in the lineup? Or yes. And it was 90% hell no. And that was the vibe. And that wasn't just us, and everybody knew he wasn't going to be in the lineup. And then he was. So, I don't know. But to end that conversation, because we talk about injuries a lot on this Yankees program. Obviously we should, but let's stop talking about it. We're not doctors yet, but let's talk about the Clint situation, because I know we have a note thing for putting down topics, and Chandler just wrote down Clint. A lot to unpack here. So why don't you take the floor here, Chandler?
I mean, the only reason I put Clint, because there's a ton. I mean, he's benched, whatever. Call it what you want. He was benched, and read into it, don't read into it. He's already struggling, which is a topic on its own. I think it was before today, which he didn't get on base today either. So, he walked.
He's below the line now.
But before today, it was 13 straight plate appearances they hadn't reached base. I saw it on the broadcast the other day. And then Gardner comes in. He's been doing great. How does that affect him mentally after year after year after year of him being benched for Gardner? That concerns me. That's my biggest concern of that whole thing, is he's already a head case. How does that affect him going forward? Is he feeling like every at bat he's got to hit a home run or he's fucked? Or is he going to be able to shake that off?
No, he's not. Here's the thing. We talk about it all the time, how he's a mental guy. If he's doing good, he does great. If he does bad, he does awful. And I was talking about before off air, but He has the only person here.
Yep.
He has the shortest leash out of anyone in the Yankee lineup. It's crazy, because he has a hot start. He's hitting 400 through 3 or 4 games, and then just takes a really, really deep dive, and now he's batting below 100 probably. Sorry, below 200 probably. But the thing that I don't like is when we ask Aaron Boone about why he's sitting, again, we get misled. He says, "Oh, it's a lefty-righty situation." And this was a game where
Boone translator. He sucked the past week. That's why he's sitting.
Exactly.
That's the answer.
But that makes no sense because the day he said that, the Rays had a bullpen day, and the starting pitcher was a righty, but he was only going to throw 2 innings. So how do you justify that? Great. Okay.
You wouldn't have even thrown 2 innings if the first one wasn't perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we go on to today, and the 9th inning comes up, and Boone takes Clint Frazier out and pinch hits Brett Gardner before the Blue Jays even decide on who's pitching next. So before even going into the situation, Clint's out of the game, and now the Blue Jays bring in a lefty.
Yeah, I mean, usually we were talking too. Usually when you pinch hit somebody, the pinch hit decision is a reaction to the pitcher that comes in. You don't pinch hit somebody while they're in the on-deck circle so that the bullpen guy can come out and pick which side you want to throw to. Gardner was in the on-deck circle, and he had pinch hit him in the on-deck circle. Okay, now you make the the reliever decision to now, okay, I'm going to throw a lefty because you're throwing Gardner out there. So now you defeated the purpose of the lefty-righty switcheroo, whatever you want to do. And we mentioned it before you mentioned it before about the shortest leash on the Yankees. He has the shortest leash for a person who is named the starter of anybody that I've ever seen in baseball. He has, there's a high microscope and we always look at him and we hear the storylines and everything, but come on, he just got named the starter. You shouldn't have to look over your shoulder at old man Brett Gardner because old man Brett Gardner could have started today, but they put Talkman in center. So I don't understand this fixation to keep putting Clint down. I get it. He's going through a rough patch right now. He's batting Mendoza, but it's an early season. He was just as hot last week than he was this week. I just don't get why they keep putting him down. Now, he is playing bad, and he is really taking a lot of pitches that I don't know why he's taking pitches down the middle. That is something that needs to be worked on by him, but the only way to work on that is by letting him play, not keep when you keep pulling him and you keep benching him after a bad week of baseball, nobody would do well. Not even Acuna would do well if he knew that, hey, maybe he would. He's really fucking good at baseball. But you know what I mean? No one would do well if they thought they were going to get benched if they did bad.
Yeah.
You got to give the guy confidence, and you have to emit confidence into a player so that they can have confidence, especially a guy like Clint.
Yeah,
you know what helps
I'm
a
all
head
red
case?
right now. I'm pissed.
I know. You know what helps a head case? Sticking with him through the rough patch. If you're going to fucking panic at the first sign of something, what does that do to him? That's what I'm saying. Like, if you really want to name him your starter and you really want to be all in on it, you have to understand that and stick with him. I don't care if he's hitting 185 20 or 30 games into the season, you got to stick with him. You can't pull him that fast after naming him the starter. I think you owe him at least half a season.
Not even, yes, we owe him. I don't think we really owe him anything, but
I think if you name any person a starter, you owe them half a season.
I would say owe it.
Yeah.
Just because he was named.
Yes, I get that. But
don't name him.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you're stunting his development throughout the season and his career, too. Because now he's gonna go throughout this entire season thinking, "Oh shit! If I don't get on base, if I don't get a hit, I'm gonna get benched tomorrow." And having that mentality, you can't fathom that. It's like this is this guy's job and life and career, and he needs to get on base, and he's not doing it. And I see it. It's all mental, literally, because I can't tell you how many times, and everybody was seeing it, that he watched these juice balls go down the middle on a 0-2 count, 1-2 count, and he would just look right at it. Like that's a mental game right there. You just watching pitches go by.
Yeah, and I don't want the narrative to be that we are just a Clint Frazier tree hugging podcast. It's just that when you give a guy,
true.
I mean, we do like Clint Frazier. That's not a secret, but I'm just saying when you give a guy the starting job, you can't have his leash be this short, and that's that. I mean, yes, he is playing bad, but the only way to not play bad is to give him opportunity to play good. If he's the starter. If he's a role player and he splits time with Gardy, don't give him false hope. Did you see him in opening day? The vibe with him for opening day to now is so much different. And the fact that he was that happy on opening day is because he's on the Yankees. Like, there's not many teams that I would like to be batting 9 on. You look at all the guys we got on the team.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that because he knew he had a job. Now it's like, you're doing it again.
But I think it's less about. Well, here's the thing. I think it's more about the fact that he's the only guy in the lineup that this is happening to. If anyone else out there in the starting lineup was
He sees that too.
Underperforming, not even underperforming, doing bad for 3-4 games, they would still be playing right now for anybody else.
Hicks is batting third.
Glaber's still playing.
Hicks is still batting third when he's in the lineup, and he's hitting under $130. He's hitting 129, and he's still our 3-hole hitter.
And he's making errors in the field, too.
And he's playing sloppy in center field, and he's still, like, nobody bats an eye. Hicks will be batting third every game for the rest of the season. It does not. Actually, that might not be true. He was supposed to bat sixth today.
Yeah, well, they did mess up the order.
Supposedly. I don't believe him, but...
I don't believe it either.
But either way, like, it's hard enough to go out there every day and play effectively, but when you have that shadow of Brett Gardner over you, like you said, to the second you're not playing well, boom, it's Brett Gardner in there. It just makes it so much harder.
It sucks, too, that it's Brett Gardner, because I love Brett Gardner, and he's one of the probably only 2 or 3 people right now that doesn't look fucking miserable to be out there. He's one of the few people out there hustling out ground balls.
Playing great.
He's playing amazing, and he actually looks happy to be there, which is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to shit on him, but I mean, it at the end of the day, it hurts Clint tremendously by putting him out there. At least by putting him out there over him.
No, I was one of the biggest Gardy. I don't know. I don't want to say haters, but in the eyes of Yankee land, I was a hater of Gardy. But I'll say he's playing amazing. I like seeing Gardy in the lineup. I've always been. This has always been my take on Gardy. Is I don't want him to stunt the growth of Clint because he's clearly the outfielder going forward. It's kind of happening again. Clint knows it. He even says, I listened to the Mike Stud podcast with Clint, and he was talking about his development, and he's like, oh, when I got traded, I didn't want to go to the Yankees from the Indians because I know what they do. They just buy the next shiny toy, and they don't do the grooming of the prospect thing, and they assured him it wasn't going to happen, and then he goes, kind of happened. And now it's kind of happening a little bit again. He said that, yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't want to misquote, but
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Yeah,
no, his Twitter bio still says Scranton Rail Riders.
it might still.
It does. I looked at it yesterday.
But let's play a little. Let's play a little game. It's about the lineup. So let's just going forward. I know today they said that Hicks could be in the 6-hole, whatever. Murph, what would your preferred lineup be? Going forward, obviously with the pieces we have, not with Voit and people like that.
No Voit. So
tomorrow's lineup. What do you want to see?
Really write it down. Are you saying like the batting order?
Yeah,
that's what a lineup is.
So obviously DJ. I still like Judge in the 2-hole. I wouldn't hate to see Glaber in the 3, and then Stanton in the 4. And then as you go down, I wouldn't mind Gary in the 5. I know that's a lot of righties in the order. And then Hicks at the 6, which I'm assuming is what they maybe would have done today, if Hicks had played. And then, I mean, if Odor's in the lineup, I'd have him after Gio. So Gio, 7? And then Odor, and then Clint. I still don't mind Clint hitting 9. You could switch him and Odor if you wanted. But
I think it honestly takes a little bit off of him a little bit. It takes a little pressure off him just a little bit. I had a hunch that he was statistically better in the 9-hole. I was gonna bring it up today, but it turns out he's not.
I'm pretty sure he's really good in like the cleanup role.
7
I think
is
that was
best.
the best one.
Yeah, we looked that up not too long ago, like before the season. But
yeah, he hits like 350 in the 7-hole.
All right, so
I mean, put him in the 7-hole.
In that case, put him in the 7, put Gio in the 8, and then put Odor at the 9. If that's the case, then I'll go with that.
Odor's been Barry Bonds with this team, huh? And honestly, I'm not trying to overreact to that, but I did want to mention something about Odor. And before this game even happened, and he did have a hit, I believe, right, today? What did he do?
He did.
And he broke up the no-hitter.
Yeah, exactly. So I was saying before this game how actually, all jokes aside, I put the memes up of Odor and his face, and he looks like a gremlin. Not to shit on him, but like that was a little mean. But nothing about all that stuff. He could actually be so big for this team because, and I was saying to Damon before, if Odor even adequately fills that spot in the lineup, wherever that may be, if it's 7 or 9, whatever it is, Murph, if he even adequately performs there, that keeps Jay Bruce out of the lineup, and he only needs to fill the spot until Voit gets back. And Voit, I don't have an injury update, Chandler, if you want to look that up for us, if he's what the timeline is on Voit, if there is anything, but I don't think it's that.
Was May. Yeah,
that's
not that long.
April, May. That's next month.
Well, I'm kind of worried. Not worried, but I think it'd be kind of cool. It'd be a good problem to have if he produces. This guy was a damn good baseball player for a
He's
while.
hit 30
in
bombs
Texas.
before.
That's what I'm saying.
Times.
If he and that's without Yankee Stadium.
Short
So
porch,
I mean, just if he comes in, and I mean, I'm not expecting him to go full prime Texas, but he's only 27. What if he comes in and he's just really good and he's vying for playing time? That's a good problem to have. I don't think it's totally impossible that he's a very important role player down the stretch on this team.
Yeah. I mean, Texas didn't give him $27 million for nothing.
No.
Well, he was young enough to give him that, and he's basically the better version of what we were shooting for when we signed Bruce and Dietrich, and it's that lefty batter that they're trying to scrape what they used to be out of him. And I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, he's not going to be a huge home run guy, but we're super lucky right now that DJ.
He's good defensively too. He's Gold Glove finalist.
Yeah, he is.
He is good defensively. But so if DJ can't play first, then we don't really have a spot for Odor. But now that DJ can slide to first, until Voit comes back, you can avoid putting Bruce in the lineup if he's really that bad, especially defensively.
I'll tell you what's nice.
You're not losing a lot.
Is seeing a ball picked at first base. A scoop at first again is nice.
That's what I'm more happy about. Yeah, I'm more happy about that because we don't have an out of position player. Murph, MLB The Show is coming out in a couple of days. How hard is it to? How much does the defense go down an out of position player?
It's like
you got to say that again. I cut out for a second.
In MLB The Show, which is coming out soon, we'll have a ton of content there. We'll do a little tournament again. But with that, if you put somebody out of position, they ain't gonna field it, and that's kind of how it felt with Jay Bruce. So that's at least that was a recipe for disaster, and I felt it in my heart. The worst scenario ever is a ground ball hit to Gleyber Torres, then he throws it to Jay Bruce, and that obviously was a recipe for the walk-off loss we had, and that's kind of the more likely scenario to happen there. So at least we have Gleyber, who hopefully gets better defensively, but if we can at least have somebody who can receive the ball there, then we may have a little bit better of odds of making the play there. And I'm happy that DJ can be that guy. DJ can slide to first, and then Odor, who you said, I didn't even know that he was a Gold Glove finalist. I don't know when that was, but even if
2018
he did it once, he could do it. He's at least an adequate defender again. So it's better than a Jay Bruce situation. So that's what we were talking about before too, that he replaces not the second baseman in that sense, because the second baseman slides. He replaces Jay Bruce, and I'll take the upside of Odor, who's actually, I know Bruce has done it, but Bruce is out of position now. So it's a guy comfortable in his position, which is the biggest thing for me.
He's also past his prime. He's old.
Yeah. I'm just saying, the biggest thing I've been preaching to is not making a already bad fielding team uncomfortable because they're out of position or in a secondary position. That's why we talked about, Gio sliding to shortstop, and I was nixing that because I don't want him to be out of position or even remotely. He may be able to do it, but I'd rather have him in the best spot he could play his position and not have a bunch of average defenders thrown around, because I do think this is honestly one of the worst fielding teams I've seen in a while, at least right now. I hope it isn't that way. There are a lot of good defenders on this team. Judge in right field if he's out there. Hicks usually in center field. Clint was a finalist, whatever he's going to do out there. Or Gardner roaming around. DJ LeMahieu. We got good defenders around. Gio, like I said. But the bad ones look bad. And if we can minimize those bad ones, that's what I'm here for.
And even when Voit inevitably comes back,
I'm inevitable.
He's gonna be big
on the Marvel grind.
Yeah, I just snapped for those.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
He's gonna be huge moving on because we've seen it before how we do not have the depth in the middle infield. And being able to have him as an asset there and be able to move him around the lineup with that, and then also having DJ being able to play first, that's going to be huge. Because even when Voit comes back, I'm sure he's going to be limited. I'm sure he's going to have plenty of off days. We're going to want to save these guys for the playoffs. And Voit, he does get injured. He has some wear and tear. So that's just a huge part of him just being able to plug and play in situations that were not as deep as an outfield position, for instance.
I just thought about this, and it might be a bit of a hot take, but it kind of just came to me. I think Voit is kind of the X factor for this season going forward. This team desperately needs a spark, somebody with some life. That's a guy that fucking likes to be there. He's just a fun guy, man. I think if he comes in and he's playing remotely well and everybody kind of rallies around that, we could see a lot of improvement in this team. I feel like the offense will kind of go with that, and they'll just kind of feed off each other rather than just fucking lazy at bats, selfish at bats, just time after time after time after time. It's so fucking frustrating to watch. My God.
But
But
Murphy's
I think
favorite thing.
He's
He's a big locker room guy, Murph. Murph was questioning why I was pointing to him, but that's why. He is a spark in more ways than one, as a player, but also as a person to be around. And he's always been that since he came up to the Yankees. And we were like, oh, what's that? What's that guy with that hop after he hits it? What's he doing?
He's got the Sosa hop.
He looks like Sammy Sosa out there. Is that cool or is that weird? And then he just kept doing it, and he kept being that just electric guy who just fun to be around and bopping with the boys. And I think that's what we got to do. We got to Odor. This is the plan going forward for all of Yankee fans and all of the Yankees if they're listening. Odor, you hold that position, hold it down, hold the door until Voit gets back, and then we're back in business. I think we could still win games. Until then, I think we will. I mean, we are coming off a 2-game win streak, so we're streaking. Wish I had that sound queued up. We're streaking through the quad. Everybody come with me.
You got to get the hold the door sound queued up there.
That's what I was thinking.
We're going to be saying that a lot, so.
Yeah.
If
you guys are listening and you have good sounds that we should put in there, I'll throw it on the soundboard.
If you played that sound there, that would have been a 10 out of 10, which is pretty hard to come by.
But I did say it, so you can give me the 10 out of 10. I said I would have done it there.
No, I'll give you the 10 out of 10.
It's all about timing, though. It's all about timing.
I'll give you the 9 out of 10 because it wasn't queued up, but it would have been a 10 out of 10.
The thought was a 10. Execution 0.
Like I'm saying, that's the way out of this seemingly low point, but way early. And we're not 0-10. I'm just saying.
Okay.
In terms of the energy on the team, that's what I'm looking towards, and I think we could also turn it around tomorrow and put up a 15 spot, which that's the one I wanted to talk about, and I talked about this with Damon too. I'm not used to putting up 3 runs. It's against guys like Robbie Ray who grunt every time he throws a 92-mile-per-hour fastball, which pissed me off, by the way. I'm used to football scores and us also giving up like 8, and then we duke out like a Minnesota Twins game when hit the Hicks catch, and that's what I'm used to. When can we get that back? Because that's what I want.
Yeah, it's a complete reverse of what we were expecting, definitely. But also, I think we're kind of underappreciating the fact that we kind of scraped out these last 2 wins, because if we're going into the rest of the series with the Rays and we're 3-7 compared to 5-5, obviously it doesn't seem like a lot, but like morale-wise, if we are 3-7 and say we drop those last 2 games, which we easily could have, we're having a way different conversation. And
it's a low point. It's a low point, but it's not. It's a low point, but it's not panic mode. This team's going to win a lot of games. No. Well, let me finish. It's not. This team's going to win a lot of games. This team's going to make the playoffs, knock on wood, barring something crazy. This team's going to make the playoffs. It's what they do from there. It's the same shit every year. And so far, they haven't showed me anything to prove that this team's different. That is the worry. They haven't shown me an ounce of changing. And that scares me because clearly it doesn't fucking work.
Well, what were your thoughts about the selfishness you were talking about?
I mean, there's a couple people on this team that look like they don't want to hit a home run every at bat, and it's just look at the double plays. We're tied for the most double plays in fucking the majors.
11. I said that too, and I tweeted it and I asked, we have to be leading the league, and then Michael K immediately says, And that is now tied for the league lead with
I'm
11 double
surprised we're
plays.
tied. Like what? Who are we tied with?
The Padres. I haven't been watching a lot of Padres baseball
I
since
don't know.
Tatis is
I'm
out.
surprised. I would have guessed that we were like 3 or 4 double plays ahead of the next team. Like it
So would
just
I, but
feels
I
like-
mean,
Well, us two are probably
probably
4 ahead.
magnified because it's usually in pretty. We've
it's
been in a lot of
huge
close games.
spots. It's
Yeah,
like
that's the
every
thing.
time at the bases loaded, it's shit like that. Bases loaded, nobody out or 1 out. Somebody comes up and they're trying to hit a fucking 5-run home run with the bases loaded. When all you have to do is hit a fly ball, or all you have to do is
Just put it in play. Literally just hit
put
it.
it in play. And
Hit
they're
it
trying to hit
anywhere,
a fucking
just-
home run, and they're striking out or hitting into double plays. There's 2 people on this team right now that aren't being selfish fucking hit. 3, if you want to count Judge. But even he has had his...
He's hit into a couple.
He's into a couple, but right now, Gardner and DJ. And I don't think DJ's kind of struggled lately, which is I'm not worried about it. But I think that's more of just a timing issue. But as far as the selfishness goes, everybody else, Gio lately, but everybody, as far as the whole team goes, it's just fucking selfish the way that they're taking at bats.
It's tough. I don't know. I actually am gonna kind of go against that because I don't know if selfish is the right word. I think they're just playing the game the way that they're accustomed to playing it. I mean,
Which is a selfish way of playing. Every ball
guess
shouldn't be a home run.
right, but that's how the Yankees have made a living for the last couple of years. And you're right, it hasn't gotten us to a World Series, so maybe there's something to change there. But
Small
I
ball.
mean, we're not really fit for the small ball, and it's kind of showing, I guess, in the way that
Want
the
to
double
be.
plays are going.
But
and
here's the
everything.
thing. There's a difference between being fit for small ball and just not executing on any situation that we're given. Like that
Yeah.
to a point, that's fine. But when we start to not execute bases loaded with nobody out 8-9 times in a row, then it starts to become like, what the fuck is going on? Like, we can justify it a little bit, like, oh, we're home run hitters, oh, we're waiting for the long ball. But when it starts to become that many times in a row, there's nothing to justify anymore because we're not doing anything. If we hit 1 grand slam out of those 8 times, Stanton did it once, but then we had 8 more times after that. Like that can't be the justification of why we can't execute situations like that. Literally just hit it anywhere besides a ground ball at the shortstop or second baseman.
Yeah, when the double plays were happening, I began to laugh, and then another one happened right after that, the next inning, and it's just actually getting laughable and this won't continue, I hope, and I'm not upset about it because you're putting the ball on the ground, and we're just getting unlucky. This isn't a Yankees are bad
But that's
situation.
not what you want to do with the bases loaded. Your whole point with a guy on third is to put the ball in the air in less than 2 outs.
I guess.
That is something to be frustrated about.
A little bit.
Like,
But there's
where are
always
we in
something.
fact
There's always a route to take and be frustrated about something.
Well,
This
no,
team
I'm just
pisses me
frustrated
off.
with it because there's
How
so
good they are.
many. There's so many. This team is good enough to do it. They just don't
Do it.
It just looks like they're not focused or something. I don't fucking know. I don't know what it is, but that's not gonna win important games. You can do that against the Orioles and you can win 7-2 because fucking who knows, this guy that just got done pitching his last high school games out there trying to pitch against the Yankees in his first ever major league game, he's going to give up a fucking dick shot to center field that's 700 feet. That's not going to work against the Astros. That's not going to work against the fucking Dodgers. That's not going to work for them. It's not going to cut it. Like,
You
you
funny you
have to
mentioned that.
learn how to play the fundamentals of baseball. It's fundamental baseball. It's nothing crazy. You have to play the fundamentals, and then you can do the other shit. You can hit the home runs and stuff like that, but you're never going to make it far enough to get to that if you don't do
it's
the
funny,
fundamental shit.
It's funny you mentioned that. Can we play a team that's not a team we've played for the last year? We've played in division in a few games against the NL East last year, and we still haven't played a team outside of our division yet. I'd like to play somebody else. You mentioned like the Dodgers and other teams like that. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we're just stagnant because we're playing against the same old shit every fucking time. Maybe if we, get matched up against a cool team and you're excited that you're going to LA to play Mike Trout and you see new people and it's not, maybe that's what we need. When's the next series? 'Cause we're playing the Rays after this. Who are we
play
playing
the
after the
Braves
Rays?
next week, who we did play also last year, the same amount as
Who?
the rest of the Braves, but we played them
That's
last
fun
year.
though.
The same amount as the rest
Again,
of the
yeah.
AL.
When do we play
Then
somebody out of the
Indians
East?
after that?
The
The April 22nd, we played the Cleveland Indians.
Still the East. Then we play the.
Can we talk about the Blue
No, they're
Jays
not-
stadium that they're playing in? How can you get excited for that? They're playing at a high school right now, basically.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
They had put up lights.
what are you gonna do? It's tough times, We're
I mean,
watching
I
baseball.
get
That's all
it.
I
I'm
care
just,
about.
I know, I know it's tough times, and they're making the best of their situation. I'm just, going off of what Rella was saying.
No, but being at that stadium, they were playing. You could hear everything that one guy was screaming. Did you hear him? It was so funny. Michael K was laughing at it too. He's like, this guy, he's got a leather lungs or whatever he said, is because he can just keep it going forever and ever. You could tell he was a Yankee fan, obviously, because he kept saying, he was like, oh, let's go Garrett, let's go Aaron, everybody else like that. And then whenever Robbie Ray or somebody else did something, he's like, you suck, you jackass. It was just very funny. We heard that all the time, and those grunts were really annoying.
Hey, fucking Serena Williams out there on the mound.
I was just kind of, I don't know, racking the brain and trying to spin this whole offensive
Don't hurt yourself,
slump into a
Murph.
good thing. What was that?
Don't hurt yourself racking your brain.
No, but I'm just saying, I think it's a lot better that the offense is not doing well as opposed to the pitching, because
Yeah.
True.
pitching is proving what they can do, and we already know what we're capable of offensively if everybody's healthy. So the difference between this year and the previous years where we've been losing in the playoffs is that if the pitching's pitching like it is now and the bats are where we know they can be, that's a very dangerous team in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
In previous years, the pitching's been a huge question mark. And this year, especially the bullpen, has looked really, really good. So now we know what they can do. I mean, we haven't played, the Dodgers and the Padres and even the tougher teams in the AL, but still, they've looked really, really good. So,
I mean, that's good. The pitching's been awesome, but and I know I'm kind of nitpicking, and it's a good problem to have when you're 5-5 and upset. And I know I sound like a spoiled dick, but it's the long term that scares me, because nothing has changed offensively. And look at the series against the Rays, the DS last year. It wasn't pitching. The pitching was great. You got Montgomery out there fucking looking like Cy Young. Garrett Cole, obviously. It was the hitting that failed us, and it was shit like this. It's the situational stuff, and that's what scares me. It's early on.
Yeah.
I hope they can turn around. Like I said, the thing I think they need most is a spark. A Luke Voigt, or maybe a mid-season trade, whatever it may be. This team needs some kind of spark, one guy to flip what this lineup's about.
Murph, I think what you said about the good problem to have with the Yankees having the good pitching and the offense is something that we have in the tank, and it's just not panning out, is the reason why. I don't know if you've seen the power rankings recently, but we're still third. And that's before the past 2 wins, I think. I don't know if it included yesterday's win, but
It did.
It's something that obviously it's early, number one, and number two, they're seeing something that they didn't think we had, and we're doing very well aside from a few blips and one guy who got sent down, Domingo. But aside from it's just another tool or a strength that the people from the outside looking in, and us as well, we didn't think this was going to be that as good as it is, and we hope it continues. But I think that's why we're in third for sure. We didn't. I thought we'd be lower than that after such a slow start that we've had so far, and it's nice to see that we still have respect on the national. I don't know who made that. Was that MLB.com?
MLB.com did that.
Yeah.
I looked at the Bleacher Report one, which whatever. But
just inverse it, and that's what it is.
Exactly. We were like 16th. It was like, come on, man.
No
I mean,
way.
that's-
It was last week too. Like,
They probably did it based on just overall record. That's not what power
they
rankings
did.
are.
No, they did. It was their power rankings, but it was like anybody that started off bad, they just fucking shot them down. Like the Orioles are the third best team. I was like, all right, guys, I get what you're doing here. Like, what have you done for? No, it's like I get the whole like, what have you done for me lately thing, but we're 6 games into the season.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're the best team ever.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
no, that's- I don't know what our-
at this point in the season, it's like you can't read it. You can't read too deeply into the teams that are not supposed to be doing well but are doing well, because you can't. It's like they're doing well because it's early in the season. They can't really sustain that. So sometimes that goes in the rankings as well. But either way, I think we were a little too high on that. We got a little too much love for that one.
No, there's some teams. Look at all the good teams. The good teams aren't doing unbelievable. Look at the Braves. The Braves have been losing games, and they were a game away from the World Series last year. So the good teams aren't necessarily doing amazing because it is early. So it is what it is. I mean, we're fine. I'm not upset about it.
Oh, we're fine. I think it's the execution of these situations. I think that Murph, I 100% agree with you that like I'd rather the pitching be doing better right now, because hitting you can get out of a slump so much easier hitting. It's like pitching, you either have it or you don't have it for the time being, and that comes I think that comes seasonally. So it's easier to get out of a hitting streak, and hopefully everyone comes out of the hitting streak at once. That'd be cool. The hitting slump. But yeah, I mean, not worried at all. We're still 10 games.
I'm not worried. Like I said, I'm not worried about the hitting as far as putting up runs. I know they can put up runs. I'm not worried. Like 3 is not going to be our cap for the season. It's just, what are you going to do when it matters most? Are you going to come out there? What's more sustainable? Is the basic fundamental hitting or the exploding for 5 home runs in a game? That's all I mean by that.
A fun thing I saw on Twitter, just to make it a little more happy, because we seem sad again. We're on 2-game win streak. So
You're about to say when I was
I'm not sad.
the Judge thing.
You go first.
The fun thing that I saw on Twitter, Playoff Tanaka, he tweeted. He's a fun account too. Gabe. The last time Judge hit third, because I asked a question before about has Judge ever had not hit second in his career. Obviously, I know there's a few times before he was like Judge. He was Judge's Chambers and everything, which is like 2 weeks after he got called up anyway. But before he was the name, he was obviously shuffled around. But he rarely ever, and we've talked about this before too, about moving him out of the 2 because he'd be better in other spots. But they're, for whatever reason, glued to him in the 2 spot. It's cemented there. So I asked the question, the last time Judge hit third, which is what he did today, the Yankees lineup was Hicks, Ellsbury, Judge, Didi, Starlin Castro, Greg Bird, Chase Headley, Todd Frazier, Romine, and Tanaka was on the mound. I thought that was funny. And that was this brings me to that was funny, but the conversation that I wanted to have about that is, and we've had this before, we don't need to cement Judge in the 2. I know they love it, and I think today was a one-off because whatever happened with Hicks not playing, and then the whole, he was going to bat 6. We don't know what the actual construction would have been, but I don't know why he's so cemented in the 3. I mean, there are so many better ways we can mix this lineup around, and obviously our input doesn't matter at all, and he's probably going to be the 2 for the 90% of the games that he's playing. So, I don't know. I thought that was fun, though.
Yeah, I feel
Ellsbury, Bird.
That's
Headley.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, Headley is
PTSD.
crazy.
But I feel like now is the time to play around with that lineup. Like, why not switch it around? What's the big deal? You have 7 guys who are identical hitters, and then you have 2 other guys that can be moved, like, that are, the contact or whatever, switch hitting lefties, whatever you may call it. Everyone else, I feel like, is pretty interchangeable, so why not play around with it and see what's working and not working? And I feel like he was doing that a little bit today, but knowing Boone, he's going to go back to his old ways tomorrow because he's going to think, oh, it didn't work, right? The only person to hit is Hickey, so it didn't work for one game. Let me go back on my decision, go back on my hunch, and just go back to what I think is best. Not let's play around with moving people up and down the lineup.
See, I want to move people around too right now when everybody's slumping, because who knows what it takes, that one little thing to click somebody back on, you know? So that's just kind of what I wanted to add to what you were saying, but carry on.
I just think that he's making decisions way too quickly off of no information, but not playing around and testing things so much. And what I mean by that is, take Clint for example. I know we talked about Clint a lot, but take him for example. He had 3 good games hitting on the 9 hole, and the next day he's batting 6th, right? And then it just doesn't make any sense. And then he's playing around the lineup with people who are doing bad. So I just don't get I don't get it. I don't get what he's doing. And
I don't get it.
I don't get it. I wish I could get it, but he's making moves, which I like, but the moves don't make any sense.
I don't get it, Boone. If you're listening.
That wasn't the fun tweet that I had, but I will read the one that I had.
I want to hear your fun tweet. I was hoping it was different because we have 2 fun tweets.
No, I was too. So Kyle Higashioka is the first catcher in MLB history to have 3 multi-homer games in his first dozen career home runs. And he had that 3-homer game last year. So he has 3 multi-homer games, and he only has 12 career home runs.
I mean, that
Or
was
maybe
kind of
15.
how he cracked into the league too. The first day, remember Kyle Higashioka? I think it was the first game. Was that was his call up? Because he was in the organization for 13 years. So I don't know if that was in the last 2 years. I think it might have been 2018, 19 or 20. He came up and he hit like 3 home runs that day, and that was the running joke. That was his call up because it was his first 3 hits ever in the bigs, and all 3 of them were home runs.
So I mean, more than half of his home runs have come from multi-home run games.
Still cool. I don't know.
Assuming that he only has 12, because the first one tonight could have been his 12. Oh no, it couldn't have been.
I love that he still sprints to first because it's like everyone surprises him. Every single one, he has the same like bat throw, whether it's a pop-up single, whatever.
Yeah, everyone surprises him.
It's like dead sprint, like halfway to first, and he's like, oh shit. Like the one today, the second one, he hit off the top of the fucking scoreboard. And he was dead sprint all the way to first. Like, oh wait, I just hit that 600 feet. I can back it down a little bit now.
He's got some
Makes me
pop.
laugh. Dude, he does. That's what they were talking about on the broadcast. They're like, yeah, that's all throughout the minors. He hit for power. I was like, never would have guessed that.
Did he?
But I'm all for it. That's what
Yeah,
they
they were
said.
saying
I don't know how
that,
true that
What
is.
was his
But
slugging in the minors?
He's all right. I don't know.
You
know what else surprised me? I was listening to the Blue Jays broadcast today because the streaming website that I was watching the game on didn't have the S stream for some reason. And they were saying that Chapman is 3rd in saves among active relief pitchers. I was surprised that he was
Can
3rd.
we guess? Can we guess who the other ones are?
I wanted to see if you guys would guess
Kimbrel?
who the other 2 are.
Kimbrel's
So
one of
Kimbrel is
them.
one of them. That's a little less surprising.
Yeah,
The other one was
that's
a little more
obvious.
surprising. I mean, he's a great
Kimbrel-
reliever.
Kimbrel.
The other guy's still good. He's not like somebody that was
Greg Holland.
No.
Is it?
Damn.
No. Yeah, I was thinking of another name, but it's definitely not him. The other name I was thinking was Jansen, but Jansen is.
It was Jansen.
Really?
Yep, it was Jansen.
He has more saves than Chapman?
Yeah. So Jansen
Why?
and
How?
Kimbrel, I can't remember exactly how many they had. Both were in the 300s, and Chapman has like 270 something.
I mean,
which
yes,
was
Jansen
really
was
surprising.
sick, but he's been kind of
Yeah.
shit for the. He actually might lose the closer job right now. I think.
Yeah, but I mean, he was dominant for like.
So was Chapman though. That's why I thought I knew
that's
he'd be
why
up
it's
there,
surprising.
but I didn't think he would be above Chapman by any means. That's why
No, I
I
wouldn't either.
retracted it before.
I mean, Kimbrel, I was like, okay, and then Jansen
Yeah.
surprised.
I have Higgy's minor
certainly
league
had some
slugging right here for you. 417 is Kyle Higashioka. 12 seasons in the minors slugging.
Slugging?
Yeah.
He's like I can't remember his name in Bull Durham, the career minor leaguer.
that's not as good as I was hoping it would be. I was hoping it was
No.
like it was up as like 700 slugging.
Yeah. No,
Just
it
something
wasn't that
ridiculous, like
crazy.
Mike
He
Ford
topped-
minor league stats. That's what I was hoping. Can we
He
read
topped
off
out
Mike
at
Ford's
21.
minor
He topped
league
out at
stats?
He topped out at 21 home runs in high A.
21 in a season.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That ain't
It's
bad.
not bad.
It's a
Ain't
short
bad.
season, right? High A's got a shorter season than 162.
I love the Mike. Damon's pulling up the Mike Ford minor league stats. He beat
he hit
up
like
on
500.
people. he was the minor league killer. I wish that's why I was so high on him and that horrible take I had back in the day when I said Mike Ford would take Luke Voigt's job. This is before anything that Voigt has kind of done, and because he has the pure hitter vibe, and he's clearly beat up on people in the past, and it just did not translate whatsoever in the majors. But what were his minor stats?
I mean, they weren't as good as we're hoping, but
Really?
I mean,
why did we?
in AAA he batted 274, OBP 364, slugged 514, OPS was 878. That's pretty good.
Maybe it was just the
I
time
remember
that he
him
was
hitting
getting
like
called up.
350.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause
At one
remember
point, he
him
was batting 500 in the
he had, like,
minors.
He also had
300 something, 500 something, 9 something. Like
yeah, but it was also over like 3 seasons, so I guess it averages out.
So maybe that year that he got called up is what
maybe
I'm
it was the year
remembering.
before he got called up. That's probably what it was.
And he was just batting 590 or something. And it's like, we have to bring this guy up. And then he just didn't do it.
it was it looks like in
I remember being excited that he got called up. And I was
I
like,
think it was in like
guy.
oh, that's not right.
Yeah, I was big on Ford too when he first came up.
How big do you think the way off topic? How big do you think the Yankees Rays rivalry is going to get this year? Now that Meadows got fucking domed twice.
Actually, it's fun. It's cool that you brought that up. I know we probably dropped off a lot of people, and whoever made it to the end here, we started just talking about Mike Ford's life. But I wanted to bring that up. I heard this on, I think it was ESPN or something. Whatever, somebody was talking about it, and they were talking about the rivalry. And we've talked about this before, the rivalry between the Rays versus the Red Sox rivalry. And I think it is alive and well. I mean, I honestly, me personally, I like a lot of the Red Sox. I don't really hate them. I hate the Rays. That's very near. That's very nearsighted of me, and it's just the past couple years. But I truly don't like Devers. Do you really hate Devers? A lot of the team's gone. So I mean, Verdugo looks like a piece of shit. I don't really like him, but
Benintendi was the one I hated the most, and he's gone now.
I really hate Benintendi. Yeah, he didn't.
I hated him.
He didn't do anything that really made me mad.
Yeah, he's a good player. He was just
hate,
and that's why I didn't like him.
Hate the Rays. I hate Kevin Cash. He's such a whiny bitch. I'm so tired of hearing about like Jordan Montgomery's in the Chapman. If you want to get upset about that, okay. Jordan Montgomery, who's thrown 46 balls in the first inning, being like, he fucking threw it our guy. Shut the fuck up.
Do you think that was on purpose?
I hope he did.
No.
You don't think so?
It was not on. No.
I don't think so.
I hope it was on purpose.
I mean,
dude,
Montgomery either woke up and he was acting like Wild Thing, or he woke up and chose violence, and there's no in between. Because I was asking Damon too. It's like, I feel like it could have been on purpose. The second one, no, and obviously the umpires knew. Huh?
I don't think the first one was either. There's no way.
I have no problem with that.
I just didn't see. A lot of me says that it wasn't on purpose because it's Jordan Montgomery, and he's. He
clearly didn't have it either, though. That's what I'm saying. The whole game was a struggle for him.
But
if you're picking somebody to throw at somebody, it's not Jordan Montgomery.
Exactly. It's also like
I feel like he hasn't talked to these guys ever. He doesn't have any
Chapman
bad
out of there.
feeling. Chapman's a mean guy. It seems.
Also, you're not going to hurt anybody. It's going to be.
Also, if you're doing it, I don't think Montgomery's got the he's not Rocky Balboa, so I don't know if he's got that confidence.
He's got the height, but that's it. But
here's the thing, though.
Here's the thing. I don't think we deserve to be throwing at people. Like, there should be some back and forth of beating each other.
No, we're being smoked.
We're getting smoked. And
yeah, it's one thing if there's competition. They've been fucking us up to the point where honestly, if I'm the Rays in that instance, I'm laughing at you. If that did have intent, what are you doing? Yeah, that's something you do when maybe you're up or whatever it may be. But if we're beaten, I said that to you also. We gotta stop talking because we say too many things that are off the air. But it's one thing. Like, yes, the Yankees would beat them in a brawl, right? Obviously, but they are taking care of business on the field, and that is the biggest stain to us and the biggest last laugh type thing because they are literally just dominating us in every facet of just baseball. Between those two white chalk lines, they kill us. And then we come out and we throw at them. And that's exactly full circle of kind of what's going on and why they laugh at us is because you're getting so frustrated that we're so much better than you the past 2 years that you're going to throw at us. And that's kind of what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah, you're kind of right. Like, my mentality originally was like, screw them. Like, maybe a brawl is like the spark we need or whatever, but I think
maybe it is because we can't create a spark.
Like, oh, how pathetic of the Rays to throw at us after we
the Yankees,
but we can't afford to lose a brawl.
Have you ever listened to
Imagine we lost a brawl?
That would just kick us while we're down.
Nobody wins a brawl.
No, nobody. People rarely land punches, but
I disagree. The one where Johnny Cueto was up against the bricks, fucking spiking people with his cleats. he won that brawl.
He won that brawl. He was on the netting, just giving.
It used to be like the last one I'm thinking of where it was like, oh, he won or he lost was when Tyler Austin charged Joe Kelly, and we were arguing tooth and nail.
He
with
still
Red
missed
Sox
every punch.
Because he missed the punch. He was in the headlock, but he got pulled off. Whatever, like that.
Bryce Harper, Hunter Strickland missed every punch.
Yeah,
also.
Bryce Harper lost that one.
When he threw the helmet, he just threw at nobody.
UCL trying to throw that helmet, it just fucking died on him.
That run from the batter's box to the pitcher, no one I feel like that is one of the most difficult things to do in sports, other than hit a curveball, all that stuff. That because the adrenaline that's running through you gotta. I mean, boxing, calculated sport. You got no calculations. You're running out there like this, and it's just I feel like the odds, if you were to put Vegas odds on it, of the likelihood to land that punch is probably
go for the takedown.
plus a million. That's not happening.
You gotta go for the takedown.
He should not be getting in any Donnybrooks though, because we're gonna start getting hurt. Like Judge is gonna go grab somebody by the back of the collar and
What'd you call it?
Yeah, a Donnybrook.
Probably a hockey reference or some bullshit.
Right? It's not even a hockey. Like a benches brawl. It's called Donnybrook. You never
I didn't
heard
know
that?
that.
I
You
thought,
learn
I thought it was some like legendary hockey player that was like a
I mean,
forcer.
it like kind of
So could have been. So it still can be. I
Yeah.
think. I think he may just be missing out.
That's Murph's word of the day. Then is Donnybrook. But so it's just like it's like a when the whole team is included in a fight.
I get what
Yeah.
I get the context. Like I never knew where you were going with that. I just never have heard the term.
Anybody use it in a sentence?
No.
If you could, I feel like you did already just now.
No, I did. But yeah, somebody would get hurt.
So I'm honestly just looking past this series against the Blue Jays. I mean, they shouldn't be, and they shouldn't be also. But I think that's kind of how I'm looking at the schedule from here on out. It's like, when do we play the Rays again? And that is kind of all telling of how we feel about the current rivalry situation. Like, they're clearly the rivals. When I mark my calendars, the games that I want to go to, I actually bought tickets to go to 2 games against the upcoming Rays series, and I'm not marking my calendar for Red Sox games. Unless I'm just going with Matt, our friend who's a Red Sox fan. I know, but is that going to last? JD Martinez is very good at baseball, and that's he's back, and it's nice to see him rebounding. He's on my fantasy team, but it's when I mark my calendar to go to high intensity games, it's against the Rays, and that I don't think there's any debate there.
I'm excited for the Astros series, the first
That
one
too.
back.
But
That's gonna
even
be
that,
exciting.
there's not as much direct hostility between players. It's like,
Disagree.
No.
Disagree.
It's more of like, yeah, you guys did a bad thing. Everybody hates you. The Rays Yankees is I personally hate you.
The thing I hate about the Rays is that Tyler Glasnow is at the same time my favorite player that's not on the Yankees and my least favorite player in baseball. Like, he's so good, and I
Is he?
think he is. I think he
Yeah, the numbers are
legitimate
not
shot at
good.
winning Cy Young this year.
Yeah.
He's very, very, very good.
AL
Does he
Cy
have
Young
the
is very
potential?
top heavy.
It's the Yankees. I want to hit him in the face with a brick. Like, I don't know.
I think he'd fuck you up, Murph.
I've never had more of a love-hate relationship with a player on another team.
Is
Ever.
it because he has a 6-pack?
Does he have a 6-pack? I don't
He's
know.
like the most shredded
Probably.
person in the major leagues.
He's a big motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
He's like 6'8".
I saw him
about-
talking. He was on some podcast, and I saw him talking. And his brother's even bigger and stronger than he is. He's like an Olympic sprinter. Does that make you hate him more?
no.
I mean,
not
if we're
really.
gonna hate everyone who's
No, like,
athletically better than
I
us, then
love
we're gonna
watching
have a
him
long
pitch
list.
teams. Like, I'll watch the Rays play the Orioles if Glasnow's on the mound because he absolutely deals. But when he goes and faces the Yankees, I all of a sudden don't like him at all.
Tends
I
to be
hate
how a lot
Kevin
of things
Cash.
go.
Looking at Kevin Cash just like fills me with rage.
Yeah, Kevin Cash. Willie,
He's such a bitch.
All right, I think that's it from us. We're just talking about fun stuff at this point, which we can go all day with this stuff. But that's it from me. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about.
I think we're good. Let's go beat the Blue Jays.
I don't like G-Man Choi either.
Okay. Can we show some fucking
no.
life?
Murph, can you write down a list of the people you don't like, and we'll make a ranking of Murph's most hated players.
What was Arya's list called?
I will
in Game
give
of
you. I
Thrones?
will give you a
Sure
top
list.
10 list of players. In
And
the
she
MLB.
read them every. Do you read like Damon said? Do you read? Like Arya read her list every night before she went to bed of the people she was going to kill. Do you read this list of players that you don't like?
Yeah, I got a dartboard with Glasnow's face on it.
It's like from Billy Madison with the and then you put
Yeah, I
the
was
lip,
gonna
and then you
say.
put the lipstick